Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Skipping Lunch at Night. So it's skipping dinner. I don't know. It's just the name of the show, and whatever time slot we're in, it's there. For folks who don't know, I'm Wes Allen. I'm with DM Tales, and I am thrilled to have some cool guests on tonight. Before I get to that, I just want to point out one little thing. If you are in the South Jersey or Philadelphia area and you want to come to EcclesiaCon, badges are on sale. It's March 28th through 30th in Palmyra, New Jersey, raising money for the roof of my church and for booksmiles.org, which is a literacy organization. They literally save kids' books from the landfill and make sure that children have them so they can enjoy reading. And I just think that's a fantastic thing to be part of. And also, in celebration of the Eagles Super Bowl victory, through Friday, which is the day that we are having the parade here in Philadelphia, you can use code GOBIRDS for $5 off your badges. So there is that. So remember, Go Birds, $5 off through Friday. Come to EcclesiaCon, play cool games, do a little bit of good. It should be a lot of fun. And that is enough about me because I want to get to our guest. I'm here with Brian Holland and Michael O'Brien from Chaosium. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Well, tonight for me.
And my cat.
And your cat.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I just booted off the desk. Hey, so it's not tonight for Brian and I. Did you know that?
You're tomorrow, correct?
Because we're talking to you from Australia.
The future.
It is tomorrow. It's Tuesday at 12:36 p.m.
So
in the afternoon.
You are you're skipping lunch. That's perfect.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah. It's very good. Lunch, yeah. We are skipping lunch. Time zones are fun when we set stuff up. All I know is you're a day closer to my parade, so that makes me happy.
Correct. Yes.
So and you just pointed out you guys are in Australia, so we are worldwide tonight, which I always find absolutely amazing that we can do this with the technology that we have. That just ordinary people can just do this bizarre thing that 30 years ago, you would need like satellites and massive equipment to do it. And it's like, nah, it's just on my Mac Mini. We're good. It's absolutely amazing.
And with that same technology, Brian was watching the Super Bowl yesterday too, weren't you?
Exactly.
Yay. So who were you rooting for?
The Eagles.
Okay.
I'm a Saints fan, but in lieu of that particular organization making it there this year, it was definitely Go Birds for me. So I was very happy.
Good. Now I don't have to kick you off the stream. That's good.
Correct.
Philadelphia fans are not known for our courtesy. So I just want to open up for folks who might not know who either of you are. Just a couple of get to know you questions so that you can kind of introduce yourselves to people. If you would mind just kind of letting people know who you are and what you do. Why are you on this stream with me tonight?
Sure.
Mob should lead that one.
Well, we're on the stream because you invited us. So thank you very much. We appreciate being here. That's really nice. So my name is Michael O'Brien. My initials are M-O-B. So sometimes people call me Mob, M-O-B. And I am one of the owners of the tabletop role-playing game publisher Chaosium. And Chaosium is perhaps most well-known for publishing Call of Cthulhu. We also publish Pendragon, RuneQuest, Quest Worlds, 7th Sea, and some other games as well. Rivers London. I could keep going and going. Chaosium has been around since 1975. So it is apparently the oldest tabletop RPG publisher that is sort of still in, the hands of its original owners, because the founder of the company, Greg Stafford, who sadly passed away 6 years ago, his family is still a partner of the company as well.
That's amazing. We're going to talk about this, the amazing history of Chaosium in a little bit, I hope. But I'm really glad that you are here and that you're having this chat, and we'll talk about some of the cool products that you both do. And Brian, who are you and what do you do in Chaosium?
So I'm Chaosium's marketing director, and I do a few other things in the company too. So like a lot of the coordination for our various actual plays and streams and things that we do, as well as our social media copy. If you've got a Chaosium product, the text on the back of the book is probably written by me. The names of some of our books are usually sometimes decided by me or tweaked by me. I'm also a sometimes writer for the company. I've written a couple of Call of Cthulhu things that have come out in the last year or so, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you kind of manage the chaos, which I think is just fun.
Yeah, well, I do my best. It is as Mob and some of his colleagues want to say, we are not the Ordarium, we are the Chaosium. So
That is true. That is very true.
There you go.
Hey, so I'll put Brian's name up in lights, even if he doesn't. So Brian wrote a solo adventure for Call of Cthulhu called Alone Against the Static,
Ooh.
which came out about a year ago. And Alone Against the Static was nominated for 2 Emmy Awards, wasn't it, Brian?
Yes.
Congratulations.
And what happened with those nominations, Brian?
So it was nominated for Best Adventure and Best Writing, and actually won silver for Best Adventure and gold for Best Writing.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Yeah, you're allowed to take a victory lap on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so what is really cool there is Chaosium has won heaps of awards over the years, in fact, to the point where we've kind of lost count. But we have never, in all that time, despite the fact I think we have some amazing writing going on, we have never been nominated for Best Writing in an award, let alone win one. So there you go. Brian really has a feather in his cap for that.
Oh, really? Oh, that's amazing. Okay, I mean, really, congratulations. And I have a couple quotes from chat here. Somebody just said, congratulations on 50 years. They've enjoyed Chaosium products since the early 80s.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, so have I.
I was going to say so as well.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit. So one of the things that I like to ask folks when they come on the chat, because role-playing games, it's an unusual hobby is the way I put it. Like it's kind of bizarro, it's weird, and it's wonderful, and it's awesome. But I love to talk with folks. What first kind of drew you into this bizarro, wonderful, awesome hobby?
We can go chronologically, maybe, Mob, if you want to share your story first. I actually
He
don't
just
know
called
if I
you
know
old.
the story of the first time you played a TTRPG.
Okay, so I go back a very long time when I was in in the United States, it's called junior high school.
Okay.
A friend of mine bought a copy of, the blue box D&D, as it was.
Okay, so Holmes, blue box.
Yeah,
okay.
That's right. Yeah. And that would have been super expensive and super hard to get here in Australia back in like 1979 or 1980 or whenever it was. But very soon after that, I think it was this same friend, bought a RuneQuest supplement, one of the first ever RuneQuest supplements called Apple Lane. It's an adventure. And it's pretty primitive by today's standards if you look at it, but we were totally captivated by it. And we tried to reverse engineer how to play RuneQuest because we didn't actually own the rules from looking at the stat blocks in
That's awesome.
that book. So yeah, my first experience with a Chaosium game was probably in 1980, actually, not 79.
That's awesome.
And it was trying to reverse engineer, and it was so cool because RuneQuest has hit locations, right? So
right.
Yeah, we looked at this and we thought you can clearly chop someone's leg off playing this game, and to a 13-year-old, it's like that was so cool.
It's the greatest thing ever. Yeah.
How to play it. Yeah.
And what's interesting, and what's interesting, that's not unusual for people back in the 70s and early 80s, just getting a module and be like, well, I'll just figure out how to play the game from this. That's not an unusual thing. So many people actually cut their teeth that way. I just think it's fantastic. So
yeah,
it speaks to power.
What about you, Brian?
Yeah.
Oh well, my first experience with role-playing games was in about I would have been the same age, but not the same time period as Mob was. So this would have been the early 2000s, and me and my friends were, I like to say we didn't have the courage to be goths, but we were close to it, but we didn't have the courage for it. So our first game was actually Vampire back then. And then I went from there, and then I discovered like there was a Star Wars role-playing game and all this other stuff. And then it was until later in high school that I came across Call of Cthulhu. And actually, I'd somehow dodged the Cthulhu mythos fiction in general, which I really, looking back, was a mean feat considering what level of nerd I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And basically with the Arkham Horror board game and such, it opened up, and then I found, hey, there's a role-playing game for this too. And so it sort of just went on from there. So we're talking about the feathers in my cap. The feather that I have in my cap that I really do point out is that I've technically never actually played Dungeons and Dragons. I should say I've played a lot of Pathfinder, but that's not.
It's not the same thing. Not the same thing.
So I'm just going to try and keep that going as long as I can, because I think it's funny to say that I now work full time in the industry and have still not technically played D&D.
I love that. So, I think that's great. I also like the fact that you basically described yourself as goth adjacent.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't brave enough, indeed.
Which is great. So, and here's a question. So you both are involved in the hobby. You both have played. You've reverse engineered things. You discovered that Call of Cthulhu existed. When you are at the table, would you rather be running a PC or GMing the game?
Oh,
I'm a forever GM pretty much myself.
So you're for
you, Mob. Yeah, I've GM'd for Mob.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I do a lot of GMing, and I particularly like, at conventions and things, running intro games can be a lot of fun, particularly with people who have never played a role-playing game before, or maybe they've played a bit of D&D. We have a couple of fantastic intro scenarios for Call of Cthulhu. There's one called the Necropolis I really like, and you kind of get locked in this after a cave-in an Egyptian tomb, and you've got to get out. And there's something horrible in there, and that's a fun one to run. Except I was very to my age the other day, because I ran this last year at a convention in Perth, Western Australia.
Okay.
And it was at a popular culture convention, so it wasn't a TTRPG convention per se.
Gotcha.
So we had these young folk at the table, and my opening spiel for this scenario is pretty easy to get what you're doing. I said, hey, if you've seen that movie, The Mummy, the movie with Brendan Fraser.
Oh, no.
It came out in 1999.
Yeah,
I said, if you've seen that, it'll all make sense. And there was complete look of incomprehension around this table, because all these people were probably born after 1999. And that's when I kind of thought, I'm old.
It's
anyway,
painful.
We still had loads of fun playing it. Yeah.
That
awesome. Is a great movie. Actually, I actually watched that with my son, who is 21, the other night, and he had, if he'd ever seen it as a kid, he couldn't remember it. And that is such an awesome movie. It is.
Great
it's a fun throwback adventure movie, right?
We went to a retro screening at our local rep theater a few months ago. So
okay.
We got to see it on the big screen, which was really fun. So,
cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And the effects in that movie hold up really, really well.
Quite well. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say that they do. I haven't seen it in a long time, but yeah.
They do a lot of practical effects in it, which I think makes a big difference. It's not just total reliance on CGI.
Yeah.
We had, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here, but
have fun.
We did a Call of Cthulhu actual play last year with a big budget. It actually had a 6-figure budget.
Woo.
And filmed it in Los Angeles. And one of the co-writers for that these days works for Weta Workshop.
Oh,
which does all the special effects for, the Lord of the Rings and things like that. I believe his title is like a creative writer for Weta Workshop. And
nice.
He just dropped in. He tends to do this in conversation. He just drops in these amazing facts. Apropos of nothing, we're talking about props and stuff like that. And he said, I've had some experience making props. And he said, did you ever see that movie, The Mummy? And we're going, yes. And he says, I made the Book of the Dead that was
Did he
in that
really?
movie.
Yeah, a really cool
It's
book
like-
with the key thing.
Yeah,
on it.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah. So our co-writer for actually made that, which was very interesting. We do mix with some very interesting people who've done some very cool things.
It's
And we should point out that he is also a massive Call of Cthulhu fan going back to the 80s. So it's really cool discovering that this game and by extension Chaosium as a company has got like this wide-reaching net that has touched so many people in a way. And then, you know, it's weird
so
to be
cool.
like, oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then you meet the people from
Yeah.
all the walks of life that that have played the
Yeah.
game. It's really cool. It really
Can't remember
is.
if you were there or not, Brian, but I remember we went out to dinner once with like the creative director of a major convention, which we now do serious stuff with. And we were there basically to pitch to him to say, hey, we want to really up what we're going to do at this convention. And when I looked over the table and saw that he actually had the Elder sign tattooed on his arm, you know, the Call of Cthulhu Elder sign, I thought, okay, well, that's probably going to be easy.
It's the easiest pitch that we've ever done. That's good. And I do have to say, I am not a horror fan by default. I have never played Call of Cthulhu.
Oh, wow.
I am the weird person who has not played this game yet. I want to.
Hey, have you ever seen that movie, The Mummy?
Yes, I have.
Okay, you'll get it easy. Okay.
When you're talking about how the people don't know about it, I have that problem. My day job, because I talked about EcclesiaCon, my day job is I'm literally the pastor of a small church. And when people come in for like their marriage or like wedding rehearsals, I will like get up front and just go, Mawith is what wings off. And nobody knows what the heck I'm talking about. I'm like, I don't.
And Brian did.
Yes, but we're all old now. So it's it doesn't really matter. It's depressing. Yeah. It really is. I'm like, how do you not know this? I almost make them sit down and watch this now. You have to watch this scene, just that go. Please watch that scene.
Hey, so if you are a pastor of a very small church,
yes,
you may be interested in a product that we've been working on a long time.
What?
And is going to come out this year.
Okay.
We did actually a version of it back in the early 1990s.
All right.
It's a game called Credo, and it is a board game simulation of the Council of Nicaea. The 4th century church.
325. Yeah.
It's a card game, board game simulation of the early church councils, where you eventually write the creed. So when we have that game out later on, I'll get in touch again, and maybe we could do another one of these shows. We can talk all about it.
I think that would be utterly fascinating.
So this game appeals to two audiences.
Okay.
And if we can capture the people in between, it's going to be a worldwide hit.
That's just so bizarre.
It appeals to theological seminaries.
Yeah.
And it appeals to radical atheists. And if we can get everyone in between, the sky's the limit.
And you're totally right, because that's exactly what it would appeal to. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I think that's hysterical. So
it's a bonkers game, and it's a beautiful looking game, and it is something that we are planning to bring out later this year.
Okay. Oh, I'll definitely. I actually have a friend that teaches at Temple University who might actually be interested in something like that too. So that would be absolutely hysterical. No.
We'll send you a copy.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yes. Thank you. All right, we went off way on tangent, but that was fun.
Because you realize, because it is, but you realize the 20th of May this year is the anniversary of.
20th of.
It is the 1,700th anniversary of the council.
Yes, 325. Oh my gosh.
All right.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Does anybody get to slap somebody in the face?
This is a scoop. We haven't announced
it. I just want.
Oh no, it even has beard.
That happened.
Because
People got kicked out for hitting people. Now I know when someone just goes. Now I know what I want to get my priest for Christmas this year.
And worse.
So
yeah.
That's awesome. I'll have to see this game. All right, I got to get back on track because we could talk about that for the next hour and a half, and that would be absolutely wonderful.
Very easily.
And I would have a blast. For getting, I can't even get my brain about making a game for that, but that is so much fun. When you guys are at the table, what is your favorite genre to have at the table?
Ooh. That depends on my audio. You can only see probably half of my game shelf behind me here next to my thing, but that goes on for like another half. It's got a very broad selection of games. Honestly, it'll depend on my mood and who I've got at the table and what we want to do. I guess like is it if it's a one shot, I feel like it's almost certainly Call of Cthulhu because I think that is the perfect game for a one shot.
Okay.
If I've got people that really like the role-playing aspect of a game and want to play a campaign, then I want to play Pendragon, I think, because a game like Pendragon where the aspects of your character's personality are actually mechanized is something that I think people will find really, really rewarding if they like that sort of level of role-playing. Yep. And I suppose if where I've got maybe a more Pathfinder adjacent crunchy crew who want to really get into the nitty-gritty of combat, and this going back to what Mob said in the early 80s when he noticed that, hey, you could chop off somebody's arm in this thing, and being able to get into that minutia, then we're probably going to go for RuneQuest. So that's probably where I'm at, but I don't have a simple go-to it. Yeah, it does depend on who it is. And I think the other thing we should clarify is that I also use Call of Cthulhu if somebody had not played it games before. Because that is easily, while all our games pretty much do use a very similar engine, the basic role-playing engine, Call of Cthulhu in particular is very, very easy to teach and learn.
Is that because it's more of a narrative-driven system, or is it because it's not?
No, it's. Do you have a set of dice at your desk, like most nerds right now? Do you have a set
I have them behind my monitor. I can get to them. Or I could bring up my digital dice. So
your digital dice. Because Mob and I can teach you to play Call of Cthulhu in about 30 seconds if you've got two D10s.
I just got to roll D100. Hold on.
Yeah.
I'll bring up my dice.
D100. Yeah.
All right. Let's now I want to put this on stream, but I don't have it. Okay, I'm rolling a D100. I rolled a 97.
Okay, well that's a bad roll because in
high
the
is
basic
bad.
role-playing system you want to roll equal to or lower. So let's say that you're a Call of Cthulhu character and you are you, and you wake up in the middle of the night and you're going to go get a glass of water because like that. Sometimes you got a dry mouth. You decide to go downstairs, and you walk out in your hallway, and there is this 5.5 foot tall, hideous monster ghoul creature standing in your hallway. What would you like to do?
I'm going to just shut the door, go back to bed.
Shut the door and go back to bed?
Yeah.
Okay, so this thing's going to creep you. So what we would say is, all right, in that case, as soon as you move, this thing is going to chase you. So you need to make a dexterity roll.
Okay.
So let's say you have a dexterity of, if you all right, what would your dexterity be? Like you out of a number between 1 and 100.
What
with 50
like
average.
Now?
Yeah, what do you think?
Probably
65, 70?
No, I'm old and stiff, so probably 45.
Okay, so let's say you've got a 45 dexterity, so you would roll your D100 and try to get equal to or lower than 45.
No, that would be a 63. And here's the funny thing. I am a terrible dice roller no matter where I'm playing, and this is following through for me. Yes. So I just got eaten.
In that case, you might not have got eaten. You might have, you failed. In this case, the ghoul would also roll to see if it chased you successfully, and whoever got higher would succeed, and then we would roll our damage and whatnot. But the core mechanic of the game is just roll a D100 and compare it to the stat on your sheet.
I love it.
And once you know that, that's pretty much everything you need to know to play the game as a player.
Yep. And one of my favorite systems right now to play is literally Dragonbane, which is based off of old basic role playing. So,
yeah,
which is nice. Michael?
Yeah. I'm just saying with that failed roll, that 63.
Uh-huh.
So, you want to just go back to bed because, obviously you're having a bad dream.
I
And you
ate too
turn
many
around
wings.
and shut the door, but you failed the roll and you don't manage to shut the door because the ghoul stuck their foot in the door.
That's about right.
All of a sudden, you're wide awake because this isn't a dream. What do you do now?
I am okay, so I'm in my room at the door. I'm trying to think of my room at the door. I am I'm stomping on the foot in the door so I can try to shut it.
Okay, yeah, that's probably a pretty wise thing to do. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'd go ahead and do some rolls about that. All right. So
Okay.
One of the things that works really well with like the basic role playing system that underpins Call of Cthulhu and everything else is I find that the game mechanics don't get in the way of telling the story. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything doesn't grind to a halt as you're trying to determine an outcome because it's always just usually a very quick dice roll or something like that.
That's awesome.
To resolve it.
And I love a roll
you know-
under system because it's so easy to adjudicate. It's so so simple.
Yep. And then I've played Call of Cthulhu with a variety of people over the years. And I remember 2 games I played in the space of 1 week, and one was with actually the author of the Necropolis, the person who wrote the Egyptian tombstone.
Okay.
And he would actually have to be probably the biggest example I've ever played with of somebody who plays, rules as written.
Okay.
And he had clearly memorized all of the rules. It was quite amazing, actually. And it was fantastic. And then I played later on in that week in the regular Horror on the Orient Express campaign I was playing at the time with our friend Kelly. And I think we probably rolled dice about 3 times in the space of 3 hours.
Yep.
And I do remember asking her at one point, hey, what actual edition of the Call of Cthulhu were we using here? And she wasn't even sure. And that's one of the strengths of the game too, because there are different ways to play it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go all in, or you can just do it very, very light.
Some of my favorite sessions have been where we've maybe rolled the dice like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Because the story's just hitting on every beat, and it's just like, okay, that just happened. Let's go over here now and have a fun time. I got a couple questions from chat, and I do want to get to the stuff that I had prepared,
Sure.
but I don't want to miss those. So BGD, Chris, has asked the question. This is you'll probably be able to answer this in like one sentence or less. Note the sarcasm. Can you speak to your motives and history behind the development of the Miskatonic University publishing system? Has it met your expectations, and what would you like to see from it in the future? In 15 words or less, can you answer that question?
15 words or less.
I'll try. So the Miskatonic repository, which I think it's being referred to, is our community content program. It's the same as the DM's Guild.
Okay.
So we have a similar one for Call of Cthulhu, and it's been phenomenally successful. We have thousands of products on there written by independent creators. We have a very, very vibrant creator community. And one thing we set up was we have what are called community ambassadors, which are people that work for us that you can refer to help you in your creation of what you're putting together.
Awesome.
And that has led to, I think, an amazingly successful community content platform. Yes, beyond our wildest expectations. Really happy with it.
That's
we
awesome.
also have one for RuneQuest and one for Pendragon as well, and they've also been phenomenally successful.
It's once you unleash the community to do stuff, it's just it really is an amazing thing that happens, which is so cool.
Yeah.
So.
And one of the really important things that we have in that is you're not constrained by canon, right? You can do whatever you want, really. So in the world of RuneQuest, for example, that is set in a fantasy world called Glorantha that was created by Greg Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
And Greg Stafford, very, very early in the piece, he said two really cool things. One I'll come to later, but this is what he said. He said, your Glorantha may vary, which he later changed to your Glorantha will vary. So when you're playing, it's your world. You do whatever you want with it.
Mm-hmm.
So on our community content platform, no one is bound by canon.
Okay.
You can do your own version of how things work.
That's so cool.
And that's with our blessing. And it's really important. The other really cool thing that Greg said very early in the piece, in 1979, in fact, is when the adventurers run screaming, from the dungeon, the monsters get experience rolls too.
Ooh.
And that is actually a very deep thing to say, because what he's actually saying is the monsters aren't just things there to be killed and have their loot taken. They are beings with their own motivations and cultures and thought processes and motivations.
Yeah, you just changed my Dragonbane campaign from moving forward.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah. So that was a very deep thing that he said a very long time ago. And I think that comes out very strongly in the world of RuneQuest.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it. All right, couple more questions from chat. This is from Dwayne. Does Chaosium plan to support RuneQuest on any of the major VTT platforms?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe it's what we're allowed to say is the word yes.
We'll stop there. Take it from where you were.
Yeah, we are working on that at the moment, and yes, we are going to be releasing stuff on VTT for RuneQuest. So.
Awesome. RuneQuest is one of those games I do want to check out. You were kind enough to send me a review copy of Pendragon, which I thought was a beautiful book, which just absolutely fantastic. And Mr. Blauface has asked, do you know when Quest Worlds is going to be out, or when will it be available for pre-order?
This Friday. Thursday, sorry, the 13th.
There you go, Mr. Blauface. It's coming up this week.
Yep. In PDF.
So it'll be out in POD. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So people are going to be really happy about that. All right. So we've covered some of this already, but I do want to move into just a little bit about the company. Chaosium, and this is something that you talked about in the opening. You're one of the kind of original generation publishers, and are you the last of the original in existence?
Correct. Us being 50 years old makes us the oldest continuing publisher.
Right.
While technically TSR was a few years before us,
they're no longer
TSR
around.
Doesn't exist. So we are. That's something I think that we're quite proud of, I would say.
It's absolutely amazing, the longevity of the publishing industry, considering how many people come up and flame out and disappear and on these little fly-by-night shops.
And Chaosium has had a number of existential crises over the 50 years.
Well, that was how did the company get its start? Can you speak to it?
So in 1975, Greg Stafford, who was the founder of the company, he had created a board war game called White Bear and Red Moon, and he was trying to find a publisher for it.
Okay.
And he had several irons in the fire that all fell through for various reasons. And then in the end, after he did a tarot card reading and some communing with nature, he got the vision that he could do it himself. So he and his wife actually spent a year working very hard. They both worked, I think they were both hospital orderlies for a year.
Okay.
Saving up money so that he could set up this company to publish his own game. And he called the company the Chaosium, and that was a combination of chaos and Colosseum, because I believe that he lived just down the road in Oakland from the Oakland Coliseum, which is a stadium.
Yep.
And
soon to be demolished. So
okay. And his house at the time, I believe it was a 1-bedroom apartment, but there were 2 families living in it, so it was very
A lot of
chaotic.
chaos. Okay.
And that's kind of where it came from. And so this board war game was published in 1975,
Okay.
and that started the company. Before that, Greg had worked as an itinerant belt buckle salesman touring the Midwest. And
that is the greatest.
Like a door-to-door guy, right?
That is like the greatest background for a role-playing game character of all time.
Well,
I love
there's
it.
more to the story. And he sold belt buckles that were made by the Bergamont Belt Buckle Works or whatever,
Okay.
which is based in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
All right. And so after he'd done that, he went back to Southern California and was setting up his company and working hard to earn the money, set up the company and everything else. But anyway, in 1975, he got sent a package in the mail. And what he was sent was the original D&D, first edition.
The wood box? Or was it okay?
Whatever the very very first. It wasn't just the very, very first. It was the first. Okay?
Oh.
Because what happened is his friend who he did the belt buckle selling with, a real hippie job, by the way, is the way Greg described it. His friend was still doing it, and he had printed up some flyers, apparently, about the belt buckles. And he went to the print shop to pick up these flyers. And in the print shop was a guy waiting for his print order to come. And they got to talking. And the guy said, I've created a fantasy game. And I'm here to pick it up. And Greg's friend said, I got a friend back in California who just loves this sort of thing. Can I buy a copy of you? And so he bought literally the first copy off the presses of the original D&D and sent it to Greg. So Greg Stafford, who later became one of the greatest tabletop role-playing game designers of all time, he actually owned not just first edition D&D, he owned the first ever copy of D&D.
Oh my!
Sold directly by this guy who went to the print shop to pick it up, Gygax, who sold it to Greg's friend.
Okay, well, you just blew my mind. This is where you start singing "It's a Small World." So that's absolutely wild.
What's even sadder is Greg then, they played D&D a bit, and he gave it to the guy who was being the dungeon master and forgot to ask for it back.
I wonder how many times that happened over the course, like throughout the history.
Yeah, and many years later, he was kind of ruing and regretting. It's like, I have no idea where that is anymore, but man, that would be worth a lot of money.
Oh, heck yeah. It probably would have been. How long after, excuse me, so he creates the board game, funds a company to publish that.
Yep.
He gets D&D in the mail, the first copy ever purchased, which I don't even know where to go with that.
There are many stories about Greg Stafford where you kind of go, wow.
Yeah, like how?
There you go.
But how long is it before he jumps into trying to make a role-playing game? And what is the first one that he tries to make?
Okay. So the first one he tried to make was he wanted to make a role in the world of Glorantha, which is the world that his war game is set in.
Oh, okay.
And he originally was thinking, I could do it with D&D, but in the end he decided he didn't want to do that. And he had a friend, Steve Perrin, who was in the Society for Creative Anachronism, which is, people who dress up in armor and belt the crap out of each other. And Steve worked with Greg and a few other people to create the original RuneQuest rules, which are much more I guess, naturalistic than D&D because there's no levels and
Okay.
you can chop people's legs off and
Yep.
everything else.
The chopping people's legs off is a big selling point. I mean,
Totally.
absolutely. Okay. I still can't, I don't even know where to go with that first. We in the yeah, we had the Woodbox, the first one. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about the games that Chaosium is known for already. You have RuneQuest, you have Call of Cthulhu. What are some of the products, or maybe some of the games that you wish would get more notable by the TTRPG community that Chaosium puts out? Like, what's flying under the radar that you think really deserves more of an awareness?
Well, I would say right now, and it's not flying under the radar by any stretch of what we can see in terms of the sales of it.
Okay.
But we're not seeing as many people talking about it, and that's the new edition of Pendragon, the one that we sent you,
which is fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that Pendragon is a game that once people sort of sit down and look at it, something clicks in their mind, and they understand why. Well, Greg Stafford, the man we've been talking about, who founded the company, despite all his other achievements, is quoted as saying that he believes this game is his greatest work. Because it's not just it's not locked into any particular version of the Arthurian legends. You don't actually need to know anything about King Arthur and the myths involved in order to play it. Although, as David Larkins, the creative director for Pendragon, will say, is that most people actually know more than they realize just because you absorb this kind of stuff through osmosis.
Yeah.
So that's a game that is we've only had a couple of books come out for it, and we've got more coming this year. But is really on the uptick, and I think that more people should check it out, because it is not like all of our games. It's not trying to be D&D, so it's not like you're leaving something behind to try and change it. You don't have to convince your friends, oh, this is a better version of what we're currently doing.
Right.
It's a completely different experience, and it's sort of a generational game that really rewards campaign play. So if anyone's ever played a game like the video game Crusader Kings, where you get older and you have children, and then you might die or you retire, then you resume play as your child and you continue through what's going on. That's a really unique selling point. And also just the way that Greg put together the mechanics for the various passions you might have, such as your faith in your religion, or your hatred of a particular enemy, and how those things also get passed down to our children. I thought was a really sort of astute commentary on nature versus nurture as well. It's very, very unique. So that would be my answer. I think more people should definitely check out Pendragon if they haven't already.
It really is just an absolutely amazing game. And one of the things I reading the book, and Pendragon is one of those games where I don't know if, just because of my jamming style, I don't know if I would want to run it, but darn it, I want to play in it. Like I want to be the knight. Like that's what I want to do. But the take on romance in it, and just the explanation of that, it's a very bizarre experience in reading this thing and realizing, they did some research and understanding on how all this stuff worked in order to make this game. And so you're reading these essays, you're like, look, I just learned things. This is cool. And that's really what sucked me into the book, is like, because I love stuff like that. I love to just constantly be learning stuff. And when you're reading a book and it's not that it's the Arthurian legend. It's like, this is an example of this whole setup of society that existed inside the Middle Ages and chivalry and all of it. And you're learning something about history and doing it, which is really, really cool. And then you get to go find monsters and kill them, which is also fun. Really, really amazing. So yeah, I would love for people to get that more and more. I'm hoping someday I'll have people run it at EcclesiaCon so I can play, or somewhere nearby that I go so I can play in it. How about you, Michael? Do you have any products in Chaosium's library that you really wish people would kind of pick up more on?
Hey, I totally endorse Brian's answer as well. I really think Pendragon is a game that deserves a bigger and wider audience. I'm going to do a shameless plug, though.
Okay, go ahead.
So I wrote a book in 1992 for RuneQuest.
Okay.
And it was done as what is called a work for hire, which means you get paid money to do it, but you sign over all the rights to everything you've done. You don't own the creation anymore. And that's fine. That's the deal. Go into it with your eyes wide open. So I wrote this book, and it was very well received at the time, which was very gratifying. And it has been long out of print. And anyway, I now own Chaosium, or I'm one of the co-owners of Chaosium. So through a complex chain of ownership, I now own that book again. Okay, I now own the rights to that book again. And we have something called the RuneQuest Classic line, where we actually publish our old stuff. We make it available again because there's a demand and interest for it. We also have a Call of Cthulhu Classic line. We did a Kickstarter for that, raised I don't know, about $800,000 or something like that.
Awesome.
It's really cool. Yeah. So anyway, so here it is. Here's my book that came out in 1992, available in print again because I can.
I'm a co-owner of the company. Darn it, my book's going back out again.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Now, here's the thing. You still don't get royalties from it, though, do you?
No, I never got royalties from it. It was a work for hire. I
was
paid a flat fee for writing the book. I will point out I got paid half the amount that the author got paid to do the cover, by the way. Avalon Hill never stinted on the artwork for their cover. But I guess I get the royalties from it now because you can now buy it on.
Oh, that's fantastic! I love it.
RPG.
And so 1992 RuneQuest, how much translation do you need to do it to get it into the more modern version of the game?
So this is written for the 3rd edition of the game, but one of the really cool things about pretty much any Chaosium game is backwards compatibility is quite easy. So with Call of Cthulhu, there's been 7 editions of that game. And really, you can pick up something from the 1st edition of the game, and as long as you can multiply by 5, which may be a stretch for some people, but there are calculators.
I am in America.
Multiply by 5.
So.
Yeah, as long as you can multiply by 5, you can just use any edition. Pendragon, the same. RuneQuest, there's probably a few little changes, but really, you can just do it on the fly and do it in your head.
Now, the current version of RuneQuest, of Pendragon is a D20. Was it originally a D100 system? Or was it always a D20 based system?
It kind of is a D100 system. It's a D100 system divided by 5.
Well, that's a D20.
Yeah.
Sure, now we're going back to doing math again. That's great. So, Mr. Blauface wanted to let you know that he's looking at the book right now, your book right now on the Chaosium website. So you're getting some sales. It's good.
Very good.
And Chris VGD has pointed out Chaosium has a serious reputation for game systems with elegant but appreciable crunch, deep thematic support, and lore context that spares no expense. Do you have any plans for something that would be considered more rules light?
Yes, Quest Worlds.
So Quest Worlds is going to be a rules light coming out this week.
Yeah.
Cool. Tell me about Quest Worlds then. What is Quest Worlds? Like, explain this.
Okay. So Quest Worlds is it's more a storytelling game. It really just has one core mechanic that you use. Interestingly, originally it was a game. We've already published it. It was called Hero Quest.
Oh, okay.
It came out in the early 2000s. It was written by Robin Laws, who is a well-known tabletop RPG designer. Then it came out as Hero Quest Glorantha, so it was set in the same world as RuneQuest. And we're now bringing out this new version called Quest Worlds. And the reason for that is we sold the Hero Quest trademark to, actually, ironically, back to Avalon Hill, which is now owned by Hasbro, which bought Milton Bradley, which bought out the Hero Quest game originally. Remember there was a board game called... Yeah, very complicated.
Yeah.
Remember there was a board game called Hero Quest?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Our Hero Quest has nothing to
do with
it.
that.
What
Okay.
happened is they let the trademark lapse.
And you snatched it?
We didn't snatch it. Actually, years later, Greg Stafford wanted to bring out this Hero Quest game. And he really wanted to use that word, but he thought, oh, we can't use that word because it's from that board game. And then they looked it up, and it's like they let that trademark lapse like 6 years ago. So
we'll take that. Thank you. Okay, yep. Awesome.
But anyway, so they came to us a couple of years ago and said, hey, we're going to bring it back, maybe inspired by our classic stuff. People have really got into it.
Okay.
And so we made a deal with them to sell them the trademark.
Okay.
And that's why we're calling it Quest Worlds. So it's a narrative game, and once you kind of learn the one core mechanic for that game, you can pretty much take it to any genre or any setting.
Awesome. Very, very cool. The folks seem to be looking forward to it. I'm going to keep my eyes open for it.
Yep.
My review queue is
here we go. I've actually got a copy of it right here. So
ooh.
This is it. I can read out what Brian wrote on the back cover. This is yours. It's a rule engine designed for playing cinematic life settings inspired by classic pulps, comic book, and weird fiction. And it's a rules-light system focused on resolving playing conflicts quickly and easily. There you go.
I love it.
And everything you need is in this book.
I love it. Someone said they heard about it on Reddit and are very excited about it. I'm going to have to check that one out. What's it going to retail for?
Oh, now you got me thinking.
I have to ask Brian that one.
Some amount of money. Yeah, that I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Okay.
Because mostly because I get mixed up with AUD and Euro and USD. So that's why.
Most Americans don't even really acknowledge that the other currencies exist, so that's okay. Yeah, you're fine.
I just don't want to quote the AUD price as USD because it'll be
everybody will be all upset. You said this is good. No, it's US. Do the conversion. Yeah. Just use Siri. It's fine. And then let's move ahead a little bit because we'll see if anybody else has some more questions in chat. But it is your 50th anniversary celebration. You guys are not seeing what I have, but your lower thirds all have the 50th anniversary Chaosium logo on it.
Oh,
cool. So do you have any big plans for the celebration of the 50th anniversary? Do you have special products that you're going to be releasing? What are some of the things that you are planning for as part of this great celebration?
Well, we're doing a lot of that are currently unannounced. At the various conventions that we are always attending, in particular things like Gen Con and our Chaosium cons, of which there are 3 this year, one in Australia, one in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and one in the UK.
Awesome.
We'll be basically going all out with a lot of the celebratory things and the events at those cons.
Okay.
We do have plans for some special products, some of which we can talk about and some that we can't. I'll let Mob talk about a couple of things that he's currently working on. If you would like to go ahead there, Mob.
Okay, so we have these, and I got so many things here that I've just kind of been able to show you, but I don't have this. We have these really cool 50th anniversary pins that we've been giving.
Oh, I've got one of those. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
As
a GM for us at an event and things like that, you get one of these for.
Yeah, it's alright. So the front, just picture it that way.
Yeah.
They're going to be really cool, collectible type things. So that's a fun thing we've already started with.
Gotcha.
We're going to be doing a book on classic covers for the last 50 years, and one of our challenges for that is, we've got so many cool covers. We've got to
narrowing it down.
Got to narrow that down.
Uh-huh.
So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Just a,
and
like a
that'll be
celebration of the artwork over the 50 years. That's amazing. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So that's one we're working on at the moment. And look, we've got a couple of other products we're going to be bringing out as well,
Okay.
and we'll be announcing those in due course over the space of the year.
Gotcha.
But we're trying to make a bit of a splash with, you only turn 50 once, so we want to make a big deal of it and get people excited by it.
I think that's amazing. I mean, one of the things that I really regret about the 50th anniversary of D&D is it was like, well, that happened, and there was like no fanfare
Yeah,
whatsoever. Not that I want you insulting another publisher on there, so I'll do it for you. I just love the fact that you're going to go into it when you're releasing these books that are not announced. I won't push you to slip. Are you going to be doing a crowdfunding, or are they going to be ready to go to press and be
no, I
released
don't
this
think
year, or
no.
what are you going to do?
We're gonna release as many of them this year as we can.
Awesome.
And if we don't release them this year, we'll at least announce them this year, and we may do some sort of pre-order or something like that. We don't plan any Kickstarters per se for these 50th anniversary.
That's cool.
For the 50th anniversary products,
and that helps get the excitement up because people will be feel like they're going to get it during the celebration, which is always a wonderful thing.
Yeah. So the actual 50th anniversary of the company is the 30th of October.
Okay.
That is the date that Greg Stafford lodged the. It's a bizarre thing. Maybe it's not bizarre to you, but to me in Australia, you had to lodge your fictitious entity registration in the state of California.
Yeah, because corporations are people too. So yeah.
And the interesting thing is he registered 3 companies on that day.
Did he really?
And he did. One of them was the Chaosium.
Okay.
The other one was Weird Magazine, spelled WYRD.
Okay.
Weird Publications. Not sure what came of that. And the other one was a company to do woodworking and carved woodworking. And there are examples of Greg Stafford's carved woodworking out there. Fred Malmberg, who actually was the original author of Dragonbane. Long ago.
Okay.
The Swedish version.
Yep.
He posted I remember on social media a couple of years ago that he must have found one of these somewhere and bought them. It was a carving Greg Stafford did then. So who knows? Greg could have gone in 3 different directions. We could be on a podcast, a wood carving podcast today, talking about Greg Stafford's,
fantastic
wood
carving
carvers of all time. But no, his career went in a different direction. So
I don't know if you've seen this commercial series in Australia, but in the US we have the Dos Equis commercials, which is with the most interesting man alive.
Oh yeah.
It seems like Greg Stafford might be the TTRPG version of the most interesting man alive.
Well, I'll tell you something interesting about that. I went to Greg's funeral in Arcata. The last years of his life, he lived in Arcata in Northern California. And I am people at that funeral. And Sandy Peterson, the original creator of Call of Cthulhu, he described Greg as the only person he's ever known who had a natural 18 charisma.
Oh, okay.
A very nice compliment. But
that is a really nice compliment.
So I remember talking to some people at this, funeral or wake or whatever for Greg. And these are people that knew him in Arcata. And, they were telling me, he's one of the most interesting people I've ever met. So many things we used to talk about. Conversations with said to me, and I hear he had something to do with games or something. And they didn't even know that he was one of the greatest game designers of all time.
That's
Yet he
awesome.
was still one of the most amazing and interesting people they'd ever met.
And
Yeah.
he's like the thing
So
that
there you
you like that the majority of people know his name for. They're like, yeah, he did games or something. We don't really know what that's about.
Something like that. Yeah,
But
that's right.
he,
Yeah,
but he
something to
was
do with
really
that.
good at brewing
What
coffee.
was that all about?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
It's a like a well-rounded guy, but just out there. He just seems to be
Yeah.
interested in everything. A polymath.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
So one of the cool things for me, and this is kind of what triggered me to want to bring you on. You had announced last month a program to support smaller game conventions.
Yep.
This blew my mind. This was so unusual when I saw it. I assumed it had to be a scam. Like I actually had to go to like Chaosium's website to like make sure like this can't be real. I'm like, holy smokes, this is a real thing. So can you please just describe what you attempt to do? And unfortunately, we couldn't get this done before the applications closed. But can you describe what this program is doing for these smaller conventions?
Sure, Brian, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we basically, as part of our 50th anniversary, we wanted to make sure that as many people as possible were able to help celebrate Chaosium and everything it is, particularly because, while we've been around for 50 years, we can't get to every convention. We do a lot of conventions, but it's very hard for us to have a presence, particularly in somewhere like North America where, there's so many cons of different sizes and whatnot. And sometimes these cons that we still just can't get to because of where they are or the other commitments we have are still reasonably sized. You can get up to 2,000 or 3,000 people. So we wanted to basically have a way that an organizer of one of these conventions or someone who is in charge of event coordination or whatever could basically apply, tell us what they are, what they're doing, why they think that their convention is good to showcase Chaosium. And on approval, we will be sending them like basically a care package of Chaosium prize support and basically things for them to use at the convention, be that if they want to do it as a prize support or event tickets or things like that. We're pretty, and I can't remember off the top of my head what the value of the box was, but we were
$500.
$500.
Yep.
$500 worth of stuff. So and that was free. So we were, I would say we were expecting a good response, but the response we did get was very full on. Yeah, we got it much faster and much larger than we thought. Yeah.
That was my next question: is what was the response like? Because
Yeah.
I mean, I did a double take.
The response was great.
And I did apply. I was like, yeah. So after I confirmed that it wasn't a scam, so because it was one of those like, if it's too good to be true, it has to be wrong. And I was like, no, they're really doing this. This is crazy. First off, just as someone who is running a small con and we're doing it as a charitable event, to have a well-known original generation publisher care enough about smaller cons to even invite people to apply for this type of support on behalf of every tiny convention on the planet, thank you. I can't, just to have that open, whether or not, whatever limit of what you can actually support with how many people went in, that shows something. That's awesome about this community, that sometimes I think folks they look at bigger publishers like, I don't care about anybody except making money. And you wanted to make them part of the celebration of this cool thing that the community's been part of for so long. And I just think that is really amazing. So I want to kind of have you on just to say thank you for even doing that or thinking of doing that. So thank you so much. And then second question, not that I have any personal interest in it. When are you expecting to announce who gets the recipients of the $500 grants for this? So
we're working on that now.
Okay.
And we'll be getting in touch with everybody in the next week or so and getting that all sorted out.
That absolutely.
And then the other thing we're
get
sending
more than
people
we
is
expected.
We did get way more than we kind of anticipated, and we're really excited by the response. The other thing that everyone is getting is our convention support back in terms of we're sending out demo scenario
Thank you.
each of our major games, and sign up sheets and stuff like that. So that's all just as PDF, not in text.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not in physical. But, yeah. So we'll actually be sent. I can't remember which the Call of Cthulhu one is, but maybe it's the Necropolis. There you go. You'll be able to play it.
Just amazing.
Hey, I'm going to have to wind up fairly soon.
We're just about done.
Do we have any last?
Yeah, I do. Just making sure anybody has any last questions. But I did say I would keep you on for about an hour. We're just a little bit over that. And I just wanted to say thank you both for coming on and chatting about this amazing company, and making me want to kind of dive into the world of Chaosium even more than I already have. So thank you so much. And
a pleasure.
If you just stick on for a couple seconds, I'm just going to say goodbye to everybody. Then I just want to say goodbye to you when we're offline personally for that.
No worries.
So thank you so much. And I'm going to cut you out so they won't hear your mic, so you can talk in my ear and try to get me to flub up. That'll be great. And I'm going to say goodbye. So, all right, folks, thank you so much. What a great chat. Just Michael and Brian were absolutely fantastic as guests. We just learned so much about the history of Chaosium and all the cool things that they do. Thank you so much. Check out Quest Worlds, which will be coming out this Thursday, I do think they said. It looks to be really amazing. Such cool, simple systems and a lot of crunch in it. So please go check them out, support them. Thank them for coming out onto the channel by buying Michael's book. And for coming up for me, I have Path of Glory. I'm starting to write that, although I have an Eagles parade to celebrate this week, so it might be delayed a little bit. And I'm also going to be doing the Munchkin Shadow run, and I have many other games. I started reading the Monty Python game. That will take me forever to read because I am laughing hysterically every other paragraph as I go through it. That'll take a little bit, but it's fantastic. Just thank you so much for all your support, everyone, and I'll talk to you soon. Until we see each other again, happy playing, everyone.